People assume that being an introvert means that we hate talking to people, and that is absolutely not true. I personally love deep conversations, but what I despise is forced networking and small talk. I tried doing business like the extroverted way, networking, webinars, using LinkedIn, and I hated every second of it. So I changed my approach, and here's how I run my business now as an introvert. So when I first started, I thought I had to do business the normal way. So networking constantly, showing up everywhere, especially on social media, and being visible all the time. But I quickly realized most of it just wasn't sustainable for me. Here are some things I've tried and why they just don't work. So first of all, with LinkedIn, I try. I really do. I try to show up over there, but it feels like everyone is just flexing instead of actually talking to each other. I scroll and I see people posting these super polished success stories or inspirational business lessons that don't even feel real. It doesn't feel like it's about connection. It's about appearing to be successful, and I that's just not me. And then webinars. I did my first webinar 5 years ago, and it is the last one I did. So people say that webinars are great. It's a great way to sell. And I prepped, I promoted, I showed up live, and it was a complete disaster. I felt like I was talking at a screen and then trying to keep up my energy, feeling like I was begging people to buy. It felt very forced. And I left that webinar thinking, I'm never doing this again. And I have kept that promise to myself. As far as networking goes, I convinced myself way back when, even when I was just, starting in my professional career, that I had to go to networking events. And when I went, I introduced myself. I did the thing I hate most, make small talk. I collected business cards that ended up going in the trash. And by the end, I needed 3 business days to just recover. So I don't do networking in the traditional sense like that anymore. And as an attorney, I have to do consultations, and I call them discovery calls. And at one point, I was doing them daily, multiple calls a day. And the thing is that as an introvert, we listen pretty deeply, which means every call was taking a lot out of me. And I left feeling exhausted most of the weeks and having to recover on Fridays. And then last but not least, the pressure to be on video. Everyone says video is king, and I get it. My audience likes video. I'm sitting here on recording a video, but sometimes I just don't want to hear myself talk. So I would try to do that whole batch record every week thing, and I'd sit down to record and nothing would come out right. I'd trip over my words and I'd have to re-record constantly. And by the end, I was totally drained. After realizing what didn't work, I had to figure out what did. And so here's how I run my business now without forcing myself to be someone that I'm not. First, I have decided to implement affiliates and use my networking for referrals. So instead of me trying to constantly sell myself, bring I let other people bring me leads, and I reward my affiliates with a commission, and it allows me to grow without having to be front and center all the time. I like to write. It's how I prefer to communicate with my audience. However, my audience prefers video. So I have to balance both, and I'll write blog posts and emails. And then if I have the energy, I will record accompanying videos. And if I don't, I know that these will still, like my writing will still stand on its own. And when I feel that spark to record, then I will do it so that I can have a matching video to go along with the blogs. And then I also make sure that I create evergreen content that leads to a product. Since I don't do big launches anymore, they absolutely drain me. And so I like to create content that is going to be relevant all the time and leads people to my offers naturally. Um, and I just, promote the content consistently, usually to my email list, but also, using Instagram stories or here on YouTube as well. When it comes to networking, I don't believe in quantity, I believe in quality. So I used to think that I had to, show up and go out all the time, and that turns out I don't. Instead of having to talk to a bunch of people at once, I focus on having 1 to 2 deep conversations with people that I actually click with and get along with. Now when it comes to discovery calls, I set clear boundaries. I have a schedule with a slot of 4-hour windows twice a week. And if someone can't fit into that, then they're probably not going to be a good fit for me anyway. And for those who don't want to chat, because personally, I don't want to chat, I offer Voxer, like we can talk over Voxer as well. I can respond with voice messages on my own time. And then this way, I get to I get to process my thoughts fully without feeling rushed. If you are an introvert trying to navigate business, here's what I wish someone would have told me sooner. You don't have to do things the traditional way. If a business strategy is absolutely draining you, change it. I am of the belief I've tried it once. If it doesn't feel good the first time, I'm not doing it again. I'm not stressing myself about around that. I'm not doing it. And you are able to build a business that works for you, not one that forces you to be on all the time or do things that just are not like yourself. Again, something feels awful, let it go. You'll be much happier in the end. So, are you an introvert running a business? What's something you refuse to do because it doesn't work for you? Let me know down in the comments. And if you are interested in learning how I run a business as well as legal tips on running an online business, make sure you subscribe.